Okay, it's Friday. This is two medicines are smaller. One is proven and one I don't think is. Well, I don't know, but they could be proven, but not proven enough. As you can see from the board, there's not anything in a lot of these, the limbs, the liver, the kidney, the female, all that stuff. So they could use to be proven. And I just was with there's a group in America that's I didn't realize since 2017 the FDA's been going after homeopathic medicine. Now, on one end, the doctors say, "Oh, it's placebo. There's nothing in it. It doesn't work. It doesn't do nothing." Now that they know it's effective, they're going after it. And you can't patent it. That's the nice thing about it. That's why I say it's the medicine for the people. You can go out in the woods, pick a plant, make a medicine out of it, and it'll work great homeopathically. So that's all in my uh, community. But yeah, they're going after that, and I didn't realize that. I'm just putting out information, putting. And when I got with this group, they're like, yeah, they've been going after it. There's a bill going through now. Um, Congress a long time ago ratified the fact that homeopathic medicine is safe, effective, and allowed to be used and sold and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's quite interesting, in these times with a lot of the healthcare stuff that's going on, people not being able to get insurance, not being able to get help. Who knows what's going to happen? But I always say arm yourself, and I've been armed for years, 30 years. Everything that happens with my family, I basically look in a couple books, consider it. Sometimes I don't even have to look in a book. I just say, what's it feel like? What's it look like? What's going on? And I observe and I can say, you know what, this medicine will probably help that. Um, do you hit it right every time? Not every time, but most of the times I do. Sometimes you have to adjust a few medicines, go back and look at it and say, what did I miss? Because it's not the medicine, it's what I miss. So, even I think I'm going to try to send something out to Fetterman and see what happens. He had that stroke. He's dizzy now. He can't his vision. He can't process words visually. I think it is, but he has to hear them, and then he can't hear them, and that's what it is. He can't hear them and make sense of what's being said. He has to look at it on a computer. So there's a couple medicines I looked up that's for that. I might text him and say, because what they're trying to do, this group is trying to get Congress to say, hey, stop this. You want them to go through all these drug trials like they do with the regular medicines, the chemicals they're using. It's not necessary. Now, trials, I say, is good. You should get more substances or more people to do a blind study with this one is eggshell and this one is like a bleach. It's a cleaner. Have them do a blind study and take hundreds of thousands of people and have them take that, overdose them on it until they have the symptoms, write all those symptoms down from everybody, have them all write them down, send them in, and then you look and see, okay, this is what's going on. This is what this medicine's good for. And that's how we tell. That's what proving is. So that would be awesome if the medical community, and I heard something in another group in with from England. Yeah, from England. They said that they're starting to use small doses, right? And it's basically vaccines. They use small doses of stuff, except the vaccines, they gotta to keep it from being poisonous, they gotta put poison in it to kill the germs that would make it poisonous, which is my folks are used to it. They're 90 and they're still going and they get shots all the time. Me and my wife, we got a shot for that COVID. Holy crap, we're not used to that. It made us sick as sick could be. Yeah, I don't think I'll do that again. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, that's the same thing as vaccine, but they're saying, and they're not calling homeopathy, they're calling it something else, but they're using small doses and they're realizing how effective that is. So what they want to do is get a control of it, and you can't control homeopathy. That's why they want them to do drug tests, but these companies that make this stuff, Boreon, there's a bunch of Washington Homeopathics, all these places that make this stuff, there's no sense for them to spend $100 million to do a test or whatever it cost them, and then they can't patent it and control it. You know what I mean? There's no control over it, and that's probably what aggravates them the most. They like to be, and that's why I always say, people say, "How are you?" And the one guy, I'll never forget him saying to me, if I was any better, it'd probably be illegal. And I always remembered that. And I say that. Why would it be illegal? Because I can't feel that good unless it's coming from a package or something. They'll try and package whatever's making me feel so good, whether it's the food or the, whatever. They'll try to package it so they can sell it to me, and that's the whole idea. They want to control it, sell it to you, and yeah, they can't do that with homeopathy. I can go right out in the woods, find a plantain. I can make a medicine out of that, and I know we have a medicine in here that's made out of plantain. But like I say, with homeopathy, it's a ridiculous thing. You got to do. They're not, um, they're not approved, is what the FDA is saying. They're not approved medicines because you got to do all these tests and all this crap. Well, they've been using them for over 200 years, and they're not dangerous. There's no, I mean, there's side effects. You take too much of it, and you do have side effects. So that is a drug. You got to be, you want to watch it, but if you do overdose on it, you can antidote it really easy. Anyways, that's why, if I do it, I do it in water, and they can keep dosing themselves because they drink coffee or they eat or whatever antidotes that certain remedy. They can redose themselves and they can continue it. And when it's in water, it's milder. And that was Hahnemann's last experiment. The LMs. He was diluting in a lot of water and all that stuff. Whereas like an X is diluted in uh, what is it, 10 drops of water? Yeah. And C is in 100 drops of water or alcohol. Alcohol, if you want to preserve it, you can do it in water. So, anyways, yeah, so it's interesting. So there's a fight there. So I'm like, how can I help? you know, so I'm thinking, okay, I got some congressmen in Pennsylvania, and I got one that is sick. I'm going to try to craft a letter, an email or whatever, to his office to say, hey, I'm just a homeopathic educator. I'm not a homeopath, but you may want to try these few medicines for your stroke and see what happens. It's safe, effective, inexpensive, and you may overcome it because he just passed out again. I think he passed out, yeah. But, you know, instead of going through all that, like arnica repairs the brain from stroke. They'll give arnica right away, if someone has a stroke. But there's a couple of them, like Bar C is one that says confusion, mental confusion, and that's what he's got. He can hear things, but he can't process what they're saying, so he has to look at it on a screen, and he can process it then. So yeah, but if he's passing out again, then he's got an issue. Now, as a health coach, what's your diet like? That's a whole nother realm. But the homeopathic medicine can help with the injury to the brain from that's causing this, and then you can go into some medicines that can help it. So, all right, today is Calcarea muriatica and Calcarea Ovi Testae, which is a bleacher cleaner, like is what they say. And Calcarea Ovi Testae is the eggshell without the membrane lining inside that keeps the egg good. It's just a shell. Glandular swelling for Calcarea, and as you know, you maybe not know, I do the red, do one color for the one. I used to do them all and just try to put them in, but I do one color for the one of medicine, then another color for the other. But gland swelling, induration. So induration, it's hard. The glands are hard. They're swelling, and they soften and disappear from this Calcarea muriatica. Any gland swelling. Gland swelling is what they call scrofula, which is a tubercular miasm that causes the glands to swell and get hard. Boils, any boils on the skin, eczema, ringworm, and impetigo, which is more skin stuff. Also, angioneurotic edema, and that's just tissue swelling. I looked it up, and it's ladies' lips all swollen. It can be the lip, it could be the face, it could be the hands, it could be wherever. There's swelling of some part of the body with fluid retention, which is what edema is. Pleurisy with effusion. Now, effusion is fluid buildup again in the lungs. That's what pleurisy. Pleurisy is a lot of fluid buildup within the pleurisy. There's little what do you want to say, like pores in the lungs that gives you that, that the fluid can put it, go into and stay. So you got fluid buildup in the cavities of the lungs. Eczema in infants. So you got infants that have eczema. You'd think of Calcarea muriatica. Now let's do Calcarea Ovi Testae, bland leucorrhea and warts. So, um, a lady that has leucorrhea and warts. Now, anybody that has warts, this could be good for. But bland leucorrhea with warts for a lady, you would consider Calcarea Ovi Testae. And then this one here is backache as if broken in two. Now that's a 3. That's a big one. Any backache, and that's most like that's Calcarea carb has that in there. Let's see. And I just did Calcarea carb. Where is that sucker? Calc carb. I did calc fluor yesterday. That's why I say I'm in all the calcs. I'll be in some more calcs in the beginning of the week. Where's the back for Calcarea carbonica? Yeah, go to the right. Know my alphabet. Back. Pain as if sprained, can scarcely rise from overlifting. Cannot sit upright. Vertebrae. Weakness of back and vertebrae. Rheumatism, lumbar. Curvature of dorsal spine. So there's a lot of back things with the calcarb, as well as this Calcarea Ovi Testae has this backache like it's broken, and especially in women with leucorrhea, suffering from cancer. That's why I say this medicine should be proven more. I do agree with them, the FDA. These medicines should be taken over by, not taken over. There probably wouldn't be no money in it unless they can patent all these medicines and then charge you a bunch of money. Right now, you can get a major amount of like a bottle of where's my bottles. Anyways, you can get a bottle for like $26 and it'll last forever. So that's what I did with the bacteria from the tick bite you with. What's it called? Borrelia. I think Borrelia and the other one. I forget the other one. Borrelia and anyways, I bought a bottle, $26, shipped from Europe. It's that'll last me forever, and that's because I get bit by a lot of ticks. So I got a bottle of that just so I could take it. Me and my wife. She just got 5 of them. She got bit by. I try to pick all them ticks off of that dog. He's like a magnet for those things. But um, you can get it real cheap. So if they were to take over on it, there would be no money in it really. They could do those major studies, and all they've really got to do, it's very cheap to make these medicines. Inexpensive, I'll say, not cheap. It's inexpensive to make these medicines. You can make them from tinctures, you can make them from metals, you can make them from whatever. Anyways, then once you make the medicine, now you take 100,000 people, you have them prove it. They take the medicine until they get sick. You take all their symptoms, you antidote that medicine from them. The sickness goes away, and now you have, because they're doing that with regular the chemical medicines they use. They are doing, supposedly, I guess they're doing blind studies, giving it to them, and then what do? They do it, and then they have to come on that TV, give you what the medicine's good for, and afterwards they got a long list of what it'll do to you. Homeopathic medicine, they could do the same thing. What will it do to you? Anything it does to you. This would be the disclaimer. Whatever it does to you, whatever symptoms you get, you can antidote and be out of it immediately, most likely. But anyways, but if they would do that and they'd prove it, now what they would need to do is they would need to control it. And that's where they're at. They want to control this stuff. You really can't. And that's why, even if you're a homeopath, which I'm not, I'm just educating people on it. If you're a homeopath, what'll happen is, you basically, you take a case and you give someone a medicine, you tell someone to get a medicine, they don't have control over the medicine. You can get the medicine anywhere. You can, it's the knowledge that they have that can help you through whatever sickness, illness you have. So like me, I want to educate people that if you have a couple books, you have a kit, you can basically take care of whatever illness, sickness thing that comes up. Of course, someone like me holding your hand to educate you on how to use these things, but it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. Now, from there, once I get this into everybody's mind, Hopefully I get a hold of one of these congressmen. I tried Kennedy and Trump, but nobody's answering. Oh, we got enough homeopaths. Well, you're not using it. You still got measles running around like crazy down in Texas. Send me down there or get me on a Zoom call and I'll tell them what to go get and what to use to overcome that. I actually got morbillinum, which is the nosode of measles. That probably get me in trouble, but and I'll just use it for my family. If the measles come around, we'd take that as a prophylactic, as a almost like a vaccine to have our body strong enough so when it comes, we may even get it, but it won't harm us bad. Anyways, it'll be a mild sickness, or we may not get it. And then you take other medicines. You could have gave morbillinum throughout the surrounding area just to like a vaccine, and then you could have went in with I don't know what medicines it would be. I'd have to look it up to help people through their measles sickness, not to let that one girl, I think one girl died. I don't know how many people have died from it, but then sort of one, I think it's a little baby girl had died from it. So yeah, you could have stopped that. And I see, and that's what kills me. I see so many people that could be, you could help them not to die, not to get sick, just like Fetterman. You know, you may not hit the first medicine, you may not hit the second medicine, but it won't harm him. It won't do anything. But when you hit the right medicine, his mind will clear up. He'll be able to function normally. Might even help him not have another stroke. So, anyways, uh, yeah, it kills me to see people going through suffering like that or taking drugs like my brother-in-law. One day we're eating and all of a sudden he goes, "Ugh." I'm like, dude, are you all right? He goes, yeah, that's that medicine that doctor gave me. I said, what the heck you taking it for? Well, it's for this and that. They're changing my medicine and they're going to fix that. And I don't think he does it anymore, but yeah, but he carries around a suitcase of medicines from them doctors. Yeah, he's got diabetes. He doesn't. If he would take care of his diet, the diabetes would go away. That's a whole health coaching thing. But I watch people destroying their health, taking drugs that are not, they're helping the symptoms. They get rid of the symptoms, but they're not helping the person. And that's the idea. Allopaths go after the disease, and they're going to kill the disease. Well, like my mentor said, Robert Murphy, he said, do you cure cancer? He said, well, I'd never seen a tumor walk through my door. But I treat the person, and that's what we do. We treat the person. What's going on? Everybody's an individual. One person that has a headache could use one medicine, and we got like 100 of them that's for a headache. You have to narrow it down. I could use another medicine for, a different person for a headache. A group of people could use that same medicine, in a flu and a whatever. And there may be some outliers that need a different medicine. Just like COVID, they were using gelsemium, arsenicum. I used antimonium tarpa myself. There was a few medicines that were being used, but there were some main ones that was helping people through that. So, all right, I want to read these. I got a few minutes. Uh, yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how things go. Hopefully they don't try to screw this up. If they do, it's still there. You'll still be able to use the stuff, but you know, you won't be able to get the medicine. Calcarea muriatica. What the heck is it? I went back to look at calcarb, calphos, LMN. Oh, there it is, muriatica. I want to read. In scrofulous cases, Calcarea muriatica. Scrofulous is tubercular miasms. Muriatica promotes the action of mercury. Now, mercury, the action was swollen glands, and that's what this one does. Under its use, glandular swellings and induration, so swollen, hard glands, soften and disappear. Hence, its use in scrofula and boils. So yeah, any skin stuff there too. CW, doctor, homeopath, whatever he was, has recorded a remarkable instance of the action of this remedy. A scrofulous and rheumatic woman had suffered from abscess of cornea, so the, the lens of the eye, followed by rheumatic iritis, which is the skin over the eye. And then what happened was they got a dense opacity, so it looked opaque. Opaque? Oh, yeah. Anyways, it looked cloudy, and that was on. was left behind after the iritis and after the abscess of the cornea. An old school practitioner had treated her with mercury, and this is what that's physical mercury, and they were given a lot of that in them days. Kind of not different than today, the stuff they're giving you. During 2 years, in a vain endeavor to touch her mouth. So that mercury wasn't working. So he put 1 grain of Calcarea in an 8-ounce bottle. Now this is what I do. I put whatever I'm given into a bottle of water and directed the patient to take a tablespoon 3 times a day. The medicine had not been taken 10 minutes before she felt it at her finger ends. The mercurial action was evoked. So all that mercury she was taking, this nat muriatica, Calcarea muriatica, was pushing that mercury out, is what was happening. And she was in bed a fortnight, terribly salivating. Now, mercury, if you have them fillings, they have mercury in it, and if it's leaking any, you're probably getting some no matter what. Your mouth, you'll have a lot of salivation. So any mercury poisoning or anything, you get salivation. Okay, now this is another one. The condition of the eye was unchanged. Okay, so that was that. Calcarea in the form of a liquor, 1 part of two of distilled water. 1 part to 2 of distilled water was one of Radimacures, a great homeopath, stomach remedies, and was used with great success by him in cases of obstinate vomiting. He gave 15 drops of the liqueur in half a cup of water 5 times a day. There's water again. Now, these guys are putting in water, and that was Hahnemann's last experiment. He was doing LMs. Now, usually we put, and I did this already, I said this. Usually, I don't know if I said it now, because a lot of times I'll talk to myself and go through this before I get on camera. An X is 10 drops of water, alcohol, whatever you're putting it in, and 1 drop of the substance. And then you pond it, succuss it. That is what's called potentizing. So you do that, and I do it 100 times. I think it's 100 times. And now you got a 1C. Then you take a drop of that out, put it into 10 drops, pound it 100 times, you get a 2C. Or no, 10 drops is an X, 1X, and then, X in Roman numerals is 10. Then you put 1 drop of the 1X into a bottle of, well, you can put it on sugar tablets. Now you have a permanent 1X, and that's what everything is on, sugar tablets that you'll usually get. Easier to transport and all that stuff. You don't have all that water, liquids. Then you take, you can either take 1 drop out of that, put it into another 10 drops in a different bottle, or you can take one of them sugar tablets, put it in a different bottle. Either way, you get a 2X when you pound it 100 times. So 1X, 2X, you keep doing that. And you're diluting it out each time. And the more you dilute it out, the less substance there is, but the more energy there is. And that's all it's working on, is energy. That's why I say this stuff is like, what's that called? Physics. What's the small physics? Why can't I think of that now? But anyways, quantum physics. That's got to be like quantum physics. You dilute something out and it becomes stronger. So anyways, that's, what he was, now Hahnemann, what he was doing with LMs, he was putting it in like, I think 500 drops of water or something. He was putting in a lot more water because he had hypersensitives, and when he'd give it a medicine, no matter what it was, it would aggravate them. So he wanted to get something where he could give it to them and not worry about it. But he realized doing that, it became stronger and went deeper and really gave a great cure. So that's why I put everything in water. The indications were vomiting of all food and drink, vomiting when no food has been taken, jaundice, that's the kidney stuff, pain in left hypochondrium. He was also found it indicated in gastric pains, bloating, and belching. So this is his Radimacure's great stomach remedy. Calcarea muriatica has the following symptoms: faintness, anxiety, and weakness, trembling and giddiness, respiration quick and snoring increased, secretion of mucus, perspiration, and urine. So all these nausea, vomiting, all these things will weaken you, whether it's mucus, a lot of mucus, perspiration, or a lot of urine. That'll weaken your vitality. Nausea and vomiting, precordial tendency to tender. Oh, the precordium is tender. Diarrhea, pulse, accelerated, cold sweats, convulsion, and paralysis. Good for boils, eczema, ringworm, scalp, ringworm of the scalp, vomiting of all food, drink with gastric pain, impetigo, glandular swellings, angioneurotic stuff. I already went over all that. Okay. So that is that one. Now, Calc Ovi Testae, eggshell. I got some time. Okay. The preparation of calcium has been used in preference to others in cases of simple bland leucorrhea. So the leucorrhea doesn't stink. A lot of these medicines, it says it stinks, it has a color, it's all this stuff. But leucorrhea and warts. So these two things, if a lady has warts and they have this leucorrhea, that's a problem. They would basically Calcarea Ovi Testae would be good. Water in which eggs have been boiled in. Now this is interesting. Is popularly supposed to have the property of causing warts if brought in contact with the hands. Well, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever had that. Usually it's hot. I pour out the water and the eggs basically into a screen, and then the water goes down a sink. So I've never done that and never. So, anyways, this suggests Calc OT as possibly the best calcarea preparation to prescribe in cases of warts. Now, why is this? This is probably more of a folklore type of thing. When I say folklore, I don't mean it's, and I was on a call with a homeopath who was doing a class, and I said, they were talking about what do you want to do, and they were talking history of homeopathy, and, you know, because he's an older fellow and he was around, years ago, 70s, 60s, 70s, somewhere in there, when they were doing all this stuff, they were using, doing all kinds of stuff anyways, with a lot of great homeopaths. And I said, what about, because they want to do that history. And I said, what about the history of alchemy from herbs? We always used herbs. Herbs have been around for a long time, forever almost. And then into alchemy, when they started doing alchemy and the transition into homeopathic medicine, because there's the Rosicrucians, Paracelsus herbs, and I think that's where they might have got the potentizing and all that. But Paracelsus, then the Rosicrucians, and then there's a lot of different groups that came along that was bringing this about. They were dealing in alchemy. A lot of the things was nutty, turning uh, uh, base metals like lead into gold. They were all trying that. But yeah, how much of it is good and true, but what came of it is eventually homeopathy, where, who would ever thought of you take a substance like an herb or something, you make a tincture out of it, it's good for certain things. Now, so that's where they would say, oh, we're using this, and that's what Hahnemann did. We're using chinchona bark to cure, not my words, theirs, malaria. Why is it working? It's the astringent properties, it's this, it's that, it's the other. Well, he took it, in the tincture form until he got sick. And what did he get? He got malaria symptoms, and that was when the light bulb went off. Whatever whatever it's able to do in a person that is healthy, make them sick, give them malarium symptoms, high fever, all that stuff, diarrhea, undoubtedly. It will cure that in a person that has malaria or symptoms similar to that, whether it's malaria, a cold, a flu, whatever it is, cholera, whatever. So now he's to a point, well, I can't give some of these substances can't be given in potency because they're poisons. And that's why I say it's got to come from alchemy and Paracelsus and all these guys somewhere. And I can't, I'd love to know that history where he came about, because there was two of them. Another doctor guy he came up with the potentizing thing, the dilution and the potentizing. So I thought that was very interesting. And I'd love to see them go through that. Calco T, Ovi Testae, has the general properties of Calcarea carb, but it has been little used clinically. So that's why I say this one hasn't been proven enough and it hasn't been used enough. Backache as if broken in two is a keynote. That's a 3, man. That's, feels like it's broken in two. Whether it's from with leucorrhea, backache, and leucorrhea, or it can just be that backache like that. And Calcarb has that backache symptoms. Not the broken like that, but it has, worse from lifting and all that, an injury from lifting. Leucorrhea and warts. Tired feeling also effective in controlling suffering from cancer. I'd love to know more about that. I'd love to hear more about, or do approving to see how well this does from the suffering, the pains, and the whatever's going on with cancer. That's Calcarea Ovi Testae. That's morning medicine. Have a good weekend. You can age, but you don't have to get old. Depends on how you eat and what you do with yourself movement wise.